There we go. Hello.
Hello,
Hello.
hello.
Hello, everybody. So I'm back again for another Creative Conversations. This time with the fantastic Jane. So there may be people watching us live, Jane, but there may be people who will just watch that later on because it's such a lovely hot day. I suspect lots of people are probably in the garden or somewhere else. But when I started this series, I knew in my mind I had an idea of what I wanted to do. I wanted to provide a platform for women to tell their stories, but I had a list of people that I thought these are stories that I want to tell. And Jane, you were on my list.
Thank you.
And I was so pleased when you said yes, because I wasn't sure. Obviously, sharing your story and sharing a part of yourself is a little bit daunting. So I was so pleased that you joined me. So I am going to stop waffling and I'm going to hand over to Jane to introduce herself. So tell us about you, Jane the person, not Jane the business, first of all.
Hi, well, I am Jane Connell, and yeah, I do run the Glass Duck. I've got a very artistic background. I did art at college. I'm a mum. I've got an 11-year-old boy. Sadly, I was widowed about 3.5 years ago, and that actually did get the business going, I have to say. You know, I live in the countryside, so I'm very lucky. And I was a primary teacher for 28 years, which I think actually has been very useful background to it all. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I have lots of other hobbies, but all very creative. And I love spending time with people as well, which I think helps.
Certainly does. For those of you who don't know Jane's business, etc., she has an amazing studio in her garden, which is where she is sitting right now. So it looks, as warm as it is today, it looks idyllic to be sat there surrounded by beautiful grass.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. It outlooks onto open fields, and really the only sort of thing that will disturb us is, you know, foxes, deers, and pheasants. So I mean, the view itself is inspirational in here, and it is a great place to escape, I have to say. Great place to escape.
So tell us a bit more about your business. Tell us kind of what it is you do first of all, and then we'll talk a bit about how you started.
So I'm a fused glass artist and teacher, and it took a while for me to accept that I was an artist in my own right. And I run, most of the businesses run on workshops. So I run workshops, and you can be from 4 to 104. I was no younger than 4. I do workshops for children. I go into schools. I run workshops at my own studio, which I'm lucky enough to have. I also go into some businesses and work on the corporate side of it, doing sort of well-being and team building. I do commissions and sort of gifts and homeware as well. And also, you know, I've started doing some of the big shows, which has been very exciting. So yeah, the Glass Duck is a fused glass. So anybody who doesn't know what that is, it's where you build with cold coloured glass, and then it goes in a kiln and it gets fired for 24 hours. And then it comes out and it's been melted, and you know, it's very addictive. And sorry,
have you got an example you could I know you've got your pieces around the studio, but have you got anything to hand that you can grab and just show us an example?
Yeah, absolutely. Hang on, excuse my back for a moment. Let's do one of those. Children's one, bird. There you go. So I mean, something we'll talk about later, I'm sure, but I had to think a little bit outside the box with lockdown because I couldn't have anybody here. So I started doing little takeaway kits. So, I mean, if you come as this was done for Father's Day. So it's just a little heart that a child can decorate, that one, and that's all been fused and the glass has melted. I mean, you can see behind me great big things, but there's a dragonfly here that's lovely little, whoops, wrong way. That looks great, fun, you know, hanging on a window. The light catches it, and that's what I love about glass. Is, you know, with the light, it can look different at every angle. To, you know, fun little birds that people make. You can make bowls and dishes. You know, they all melt down. Trying to think what else I've got here quickly. Gin stirrers, always popular.
Yeah.
You know, there's little coaster which has been done as well. And that's got wire in it, so you can put things in the glass as well.
Oh, okay. Fabulous.
Which is great fun. So it's all done with little bits of glass or bigger bits, and you're taught how it all works, how to cut the glass safely, and how to build your design, which is all great fun. It's really, really fun.
It certainly looks amazing. I love the idea that you can put other things into it because you can make it really personal then, or really kind of memories keepsake based.
Yes. You know, I mean, that's a lot of people bring photographs or of places that they visited that they like to incorporate into glass. And I mean, you can put metals in the glass and some special papers, which is great. You can cut out things and put them in. I mean, the world is your oyster. I'm still learning new things, which is
amazing.
Wow. It's absolutely
so let's delve into a little bit more around kind of, obviously you said you were a primary school teacher, but you trained in art and you've worked a lot in art throughout your life. But tell me a bit about how the Glass Duck started and how you went from that transition of working in education and now doing this and having a studio in your house.
So it must have been 17 years ago. I visited Ely Cathedral and was just completely overwhelmed by the cathedral windows. And there happened to be a stained glass artist working there at the time. And I got chatting to him, and my love of glass started then and what you could do with it. So I trained with him in Oxford for quite a while, actually. I went to quite a few of his courses. So I started as a stained glass artist. And then had it as a hobby and got my first little kiln because I had to fire the enamels, the paints on the glass. And I knew I could draw and I knew I could do that side of it. And I did some renovation work and made some commissions, and, you know, it was enjoyable. But I was teaching at the same time. And then the school I was working at the time was doing an art week. And I'd started, because I had a kiln, started playing with fusing. And so I asked the head teacher, look, could I use glass with the children for this art week? Nobody'd done it before. And she said, well, as long as you think it's safe. And so you imagine the safety list. But it just sparked something in me. And I thought, you know, I love teaching. I still love teaching. And the children's delight and the things they produce, you know, they don't have the inhibitions that us adults have. And we did a jungle theme, and they made these amazing jungle animal coasters and hangings. And I thought, hang on a minute, I love this. I absolutely love this with a passion. And thought, there's nobody that I know is teaching children.
Yeah.
So the Glass Duck kind of developed from that. I started just working part-time on it, very part-time, and was teaching children only. And quite sweetly, my son named the company because my maiden name was Teal. And he just said, well, what about the glass duck? And it was very simple. And I thought, actually, that really works. Yes, why not? So the glass duck evolved, the name. And then, of course, the parents wanted to start coming too. So,
Yeah.
they were like, well, we want to do this.
Yeah,
So, yes, exactly. They can't have all the fun. So my weekends were getting busier and busier. And I made the decision with my husband that actually it was something I would really like to do. So the summer house had been built as his office. Nah. He very kindly said, right, if you want to do this, you have a big summer house. I'll work in the house. But you've got to make a real go of it. And so I handed in my resignation in the July. And sadly, in the September, when I was due to start it all, he got diagnosed with brain cancer. So everything had to go on hold. I was a carer for 14 months with him. And yeah, that was a hard journey. But you know what? I kept doing the glass, still kept doing the glass. It's my therapy, if you like.
Yeah.
And the studio was a place that I could escape. And he loved it there as well, because we had this amazing view. And he would come and keep me company in there, and he would just sit while I was working. And he passed away, and I thought, okay, financially, this isn't going to work. So I went back to teaching, which, I do like, but it wasn't what I wanted for the rest of my life. And so then I was, a single parent with a child. And I think we were both a bit traumatized and possibly shouldn't have gone down that road. But I did. And the people I worked with at the time were amazing and incredibly supportive. So I went back into teaching as a part-time year 2 teacher, and then became acting deputy head as well, which was insane. And realised I was juggling, I was running a small business, working in management in education, trying to run a house, look after my son. And that July, I thought, no, enough, quality of life. And so I handed in my resignation again. But by that time, because I was part-time, I had started visiting schools and teaching in schools, the glass. I was getting up quite a lot of clientele. I was getting good, customer clients coming through. And I thought, if I don't try this now, I never will. So I went full-time 3.5 years ago. And even through lockdown, I have to say, with the crisis of lots of small businesses, we're still going strong. And, I thank my lucky stars every day, and I am happier than I ever could be doing something I love. And I've never lost that, I think if you start to lose that passion for something you're doing, then you're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think the fact that it was, for me, what I find really inspiring and kind of empowering about your story is this sense that it was something you created, that your husband was kind of there for the creation, the kindling, and the kind of, and now you've kind of gone at it wholeheartedly. It's like you're carrying that little bit of his spirit into what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And you can feel that in the way that you work, that passion and that determination. It comes from everything that's gone before.
I mean, I know he would have approved of what I'm doing. And so many of my close friends have said he'd be so proud of you. And, I used, if you like, I used part of his how can I put it? Part of the finance that he left me to extend the studio. So I had a proper classroom, and I knew that it wasn't the wrong thing to do. And it meant I was there for my son, and, he still has wobbles. Of course he does. But it means I'm there to pick him up from school. I'm there to take him to school. and he needed that, and I think we needed it. We needed it as a family.
Yeah.
Plus, it was my therapy. The glass, it was great.
Yeah, definitely. No, I love that. I love that you found something that worked for you, and your passion to share that with other people is yeah, you just can feel that in what you're doing. So tell me a bit more about where do you get your inspiration? Because obviously you teach, and that's everybody creating their own, but you're a glass artist within your own right. You create your own pieces that you show and you sell. So how do you find your inspiration to create?
It's really interesting. It's really evolving as time goes on. Initially, I was very much very technical and learning all the different techniques. And I continue to work alongside other glass artists. We meet 4 times a year in a kiln club down in Ilminster, and I think that's been very helpful. I've got someone to bounce ideas off. But I'm lucky. I live in the middle of the countryside, and I grew up in the countryside, so that is very much part of my style, if you like. I have a bit of an obsession with trees and leaves at the moment, and also my mother's side of the family comes from West Wales, in a little by the seaside, in a little place called Newquay, not Newquay, Cornwall, Newquay, Wales. And I have such wonderful memories there, and we still visit. So a lot of photographic work down there, and then it comes back and it comes into my glass. I do a lot of coastal work as well. I mean, you can't see it, but this little necklace, that's part of Newquay.
Yeah, gorgeous.
But what I really noticed was during lockdown, really bizarrely, I kind of really lost my glass mojo, and so did lots of my colleagues. So I went right back to basics and started sketching again and drawing and joining up with a lot of those online art, come along and have a go and do this. And I've filled 3 sketchbooks in lockdown. And my art's going in a different direction, which is great. And it kind of was the kick that I needed of sometimes, you need to go back and just reflect on where you were, and just don't forget that you can go in any direction. So I'm in the middle of sculpting a piece for an exhibition, actually, that will be later this year. So that's going to be very exciting. So going into the sculptural side as well. Yeah. So becoming more adventurous.
I'm fascinated to see, where your journey goes. I love having the privilege of seeing so many different artists evolve, and the things that they the phases they go through. And I'm excited to see what's coming next. So thinking about your workshops and the way that you work, you said it's from age 4 to 104, so I'm presuming anyone can have a go. But tell me a bit more. I'm really interested to hear a bit more about how you use glass in the corporate world.
So I just started going down that line, and then lockdown hit us, didn't it? So this is a new venture I'm going into, and it originally started where I was just selling some stuff at Christmas within one particular company, and talking to them, they were very interested as a team building. And also, as you're aware, there are lots of well-being grants at the moment within companies, although I'm not sure there'll be quite so many now. But I was asked to go in and work with teams to help that team building process. And also, it's something that something that they are sharing together. And when you're doing that, you don't have time to think about anything else, and I think it's very good for bonding some teams. Also, on the well-being side, I mean, I actually a while ago now, it was about a year ago, I was running a Wellbeing Wednesday, and I had a couple of clients who came in and openly were diagnosed with post-traumatic stress, and I kept the group very small. And they were, you know, it was a safe place to be. It was somewhere where they knew the group would be small, and it was, you know, they weren't going to have to explain themselves to anybody. So, you know, that side of it as well is very good. I mean, I'll go into it a little bit more in a minute if you like. But so yeah, it's a new venture, the Wellbeing. I mean, I know how much it helped me, and it really did. You know, you can't think about anything else. And then the excitement of building something and accomplishing something. And anybody can do it. Anybody. You don't have to be autistic.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you can, you know, because it is pieces of like the cold, hard glass that you build with, you can almost, it suits people who are ultra creative and want to be abstract, but it suits people who are quite logical and almost want to see it as like paint by numbers, where they can just, you know, like create a pattern that's quite logical, a picture that's quite sequential or something. And I think that's the beauty of how it works for everybody, because it really doesn't matter what your creative kind of viewpoint is, you can still give it a go. So tell me a bit about how you're kind of, I know you're really passionate, and you said you'll explain a bit more to us about using creativity for kind of mental health purposes. So tell me a bit more about that, and a bit more about how you see the benefit.
I mean, I don't take more than 6 in a class. Well, that's going to change anyway at the moment. You know, for a little while, it's going to be no more than 3. So it's already, you're working in a small group. I quite often have clients who will come on their own, and they feel it is safe to come on their own. They don't need to bring a friend. But it is space and time for yourself, I think, which none of us, particularly us mums, do enough of.
Absolutely.
You know, I've had people coming who I've had all the generations of a family, which is lovely, you know, right from great grandchildren up to, you know, I literally had a lady of 102 in here, which is why I say to 104. But I mean, they've shown that art and art therapy, which I'm not an art therapist, but it decreases the symptoms of depression and stress. And I feel I'm a walking example of that. You know, certainly in the teaching education, I was getting very anxious. I was beginning to worry about my own well-being. And the difference in me now is incredible. So it can be used as well. I mean, we've had it's united families. I'm on the absolute extreme. I have groups of girls who meet once a year. It doesn't have to be girls, by the way. And it's their something to do, and they walked away with something creative at the end of it. You know, that they've shared. It's a shared experience of something different. So, and you cannot think about anything else when you're doing it. You have to slow down. You have to just focus on what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think in the back of, you know, that what we've just been through as a nation, and the way that the world is right now, there's a lot of anxiety and uncertainty and confusion, and I think we need to start looking at different ways of living our life and different ways of having downtime, because I think jobs obviously are still going to be incredibly stressful. We need this outlet. So I just love that you're already thinking about how you can be there to serve the world that needs your help. That's really inspiring, really inspiring. Okay. Just a couple of comments coming through that I wanted to share with you. So Alex said that her ancestors are stained glasses. So she shares your passion. Yeah, amazing. And they her family have worked even in Westminster Abbey. Wow, that's pretty
amazing.
Fantastic. We have another one here. I'm not sure it just says Facebook user. Sorry for your loss, Jane. Great, really great listening to you talk with such passion about your business. I feel inspired. Thank you. That's amazing. You know, I knew that's how you'd make people feel, because you're incredibly inspiring, Jane. Yeah. Here we go, Amanda. Alex again saying that. There you go. So her husband is incredibly artistic. So we've got lots of people feeling inspired and digging into their own creativity on the back of what you said, which is amazing, because I know that's everything that you're about, is just inspiring people to have a go. Tell us a little bit how you've diversified then over lockdown period.
Yeah, do you know, I was just thinking that as those comments came up, and I think, you know, any of you running we're all running small businesses. There are going to be times when you think, oh my goodness, what have I done? And this isn't working. What am I doing? And I've had many sleepless nights in the past and thought, this is ridiculous. I'm putting myself at risk, my family at risk. And it's being able to say, okay, this bit isn't working. What can work? And so when lockdown came down, most of my income was from workshops, and I thought, right, well, they've gone. And then I thought, but people are stuck at home. Now, Facebook has been an amazing platform during lockdown, because it's kind of like a trapped audience, isn't it? Really, everybody was obsessed with following following on their phones, you know, and it didn't matter what time of day you put your updates on, you could guarantee you had an audience from the word go. So I just thought, right, okay, I was in the process of beginning to do some takeaway kits, and I thought, I've got to work fast, I've got to get this out there quickly. So there were lots of late nights initially, just to get it out as quickly as I could, because inevitably with Facebook you do get copycats, and it is, you know, it's a competitive market even in the fused glass world. So I started with the kits, and then Rainbow Mania developed, didn't it? In a good way. And so then, for those that didn't want to make, I started with the kits where you could choose what you wanted to make, and I sent everything that you needed in a little box with very clear instructions, and it was posted out to you. You didn't have to come and pick it up. It was posted to you, and inside was everything you needed with another little box, so you could post it back to me. So nobody needed to go anywhere except stay at home and enjoy it. So that worked brilliantly, and thank you, Post Office, is all I can say. They were my godsend. And I quickly learned how to resource materials I'd never had to resource before. I mean, love the internet. And you know, click and drop post office deliveries were brilliant. So they went off with, I was overwhelmed actually of how popular it was, to the point I had to close my order book, because it was just me.
Amazing.
And bless him, 11-year-old son, not good at packing. And I'm sure it was done on purpose, so he didn't have to do it.
Sounds like something my husband would do, so it must be a man thing.
Oh, definitely. But, you know, I was juggling homeschooling as well. So it was like homeschooling in the morning / battles, and then working in the afternoon. And there were late nights, and I had to accept that to keep it going. You know, there are going to be times like that. And then rainbows suddenly became very popular. And I had a client who phoned me and said, would I make a rainbow? Sadly, she'd lost a parent with COVID. And I went, absolutely, of course. And it was a personalized one. And then everybody wanted a rainbow. So I was, you know, I kept the products. I kept, if you like, the amount of products available quite small. Otherwise, it was going to be overwhelming. And yes, of course, those orders now have died down, but I'm in the process now of developing something different, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm aware we've got summer holidays, and again, I mean, probably in this heat, actually, in this lovely sunshine, and now where we can get out more, I think people will be out and about more. But there's still that demand to be able to do it at home. Plus, I'm now tentatively opening on the 4th of July. So, you know, for people to come, but in very small, safe groups, because I'm aware that how people develop themselves from this lockdown is going to be very different. It's very individual of how people feel safe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I surprised myself.
Yeah, you know, I've watched your little journey and over lockdown, and I just felt incredibly proud. I always feel like this, and I always say it like totally unpatronizingly, but when I see my clients doing things, I feel like a little kind of mother hen over it. I'm like, oh, look at them, I'm so proud of them. And when I saw that you kind of really quickly were on the ball with your home kits, and I was like, this is brilliant. I was, you know, you just your confidence had just grown so much in your own ability to realize this is it, this is what I'm doing, I'm going for it. And you just did that so well, which was wonderful to see. Amazing.
I think, you know, part of that actually, and I'm not, you know, trying to suck up here or anything, but you gave me that confidence. I mean, you've been a real mentor to me from the beginning and given me the kick up the arse when I needed it. In a good way.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think 90% of that is believing in yourself.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say I do now. I didn't, you know. So yeah.
Good. So just before we end, I ask everybody who comes on to do my creative conversations with me, who inspires you?
Do you know, it's changed so much over the years. Again, in this last 3 years, my answer has changed since lockdown, and I've gone completely blank on his name, which is terrible. I don't know if you recall, there was a wonderful artist who was on a Monday night during lockdown and was doing, oh my life, I've literally gone blank.
I do know who you mean, and I can't remember his name. I can't remember
terrible.
Either, and that's really frustrating me. If you're in the comments and you remember the artist who did the draw along every week with him.
That was Rob. Yeah, the children's art. The children's.
No, it's not the children's one that I'm thinking of. I think his name begins with a G. The person I'm thinking of.
But recently, I put up on the comments afterwards who he was, because I could kick myself for having a complete brain blank now. But I looked at his work and I thought, oh, okay, a little strange. But as I watched his programs develop each week, I have been so inspired by him. And, you know, that anybody can do art, and just to do it and just let your inner thoughts come out. And there are going to be some days when you'll produce stuff that is rubbish. But that's okay. At some point in that rubbish, there'll be something brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. It's having a go. And this is what I say about business, in the sense that you won't get everything right and all the decisions you make and ideas you have, but that within that there will be something which works and which you can go back and repeat and repeat. Alex is saying, was it Lachlan Gowdy?
No.
No, not. But obviously that's another one to follow. So before we go, there are people, I can see people are watching along with us. If you have any questions for Jane, you can ask now, or you can pop them if you're watching on replay. Pop them into the comments thread here, and Jane will pop in. She's in our group anyway, so she'll answer any questions you have. And Jane, do share in the comments how we can find you. Share your your business
The
link, so
Facebook page at the moment.
Yes, share your Facebook page so people know where to find you and to come and find out more about your courses, because you are local. For anyone who's in Hampshire, she is local to Basingstoke, so it's not too far to come and travel and join a workshop. Thank you so much for taking part.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure to speak to you. So I'm going to let you go. I don't know about you, but I am absolutely melting. So I need to go back and dive in the paddling pool again.
Definitely. Thank you very much for inviting me. I've really enjoyed it.
You are so welcome. And for everyone watching, take care. Have a lovely afternoon. Bye.